Hey, you, Nina here. Okay, so I know that this episode is late. I am going to tell you why also. Drama in my life. So, yeah, as many of you know, I've been going through this divorce. It's never ending. I've been trying to get it since 2021. And of the many hoops that I have had to jump through in order to get where I am in this moment, one of them recently popped up last week. My ex, decided that he was going to file for primary custody. Curious, isn't it? And so I am in a whirl about this right now. I'm very ignorant as to what happens as far as tactics go in divorce, right? But I'm in a whirl about this because I think, why on earth would someone who said they wanted less time with their child ask all of a sudden for primary custody? This doesn't make sense to me. And so I'm in a whirl of it. I discovered it over the weekend. So it's not like I can get in touch with my lawyers or anything. And then the next week hits, which would be this week, excuse me. And I am there with my lawyer and we're talking about it. And I'm looking at the paperwork and I ask my ex, why are you asking for primary custody? Why does your paperwork state that I'm going to be paying you child support? These are not things that we spoke about. And I don't understand how you think that this is what's in. I actually want us to play with this upcoming moment that I'm about to tell you. I speak with my lawyer on why this is happening. I say it doesn't make sense to me, and my lawyer educates me. For those of you who are ever in a space where you feel like you are trapped or caged, it may be because you simply do not have greater perspective, and it is time to reach out to someone who does. So I've got this professional with me, and they say, Nina, here's the thing. This is actually a divorce tactic. And I say, tell me more. And they say, here's what happens. They think that after they have, said that he should get primary custody, in this state, with this child, and you're a stellar mother, in this case, here's what's happening. They think that you are going to tremble. They think that you are going to buckle under with fear. And they think that you are going to be so afraid of going to court with this and potentially losing your child that you will say, please, please just don't take my baby. I'll do whatever you want. And then they will say, we don't want to pay you child support. Cricket, cricket. And because you are so afraid of losing your child, you will say, yes, anything you want, just don't take my baby. So, as wild as that may sound, I had never heard of this, right? Not a divorce specialist. And I was floored. I was like, is this really, what we have come to? I I had been so reasonable and I thought that we're really coming to something, and then we hit this. And so, yes, this episode is late, and yes, I want us to play with those sticky and uncomfortable moments, and I want you to, just as I've done, transform it into something teachable, right? Transform it into something teachable. Because now the reality is, I don't need to stress about the idea of losing my child, because this isn't about my ex wanting more time with the child. It's about money, unfortunately. So I can talk with him about money, but it is non negotiable that I will be giving up primary custody of my child. So, here in this moment that I've just shared with you, right? Lots of red flags are happening. And that is actually what this episode is going to be about. Now, I'm not going to elaborate on that story, right? It is spooky season and Halloween month. I'm going to go into several horror moments that you all have actually shared with me. And we are going to explore a sea of red flags. Okay. I'm going to give you some tools in this episode that you are definitely going to want to hang on to mentally or physically. So, my invitation is going to be, as we explore the red flag material, have a journal on hand or a really good friend to dialogue with what is coming up for you. Yeah, I want you to really stay present with what is happening so that you do not spin out and become hijacked and dysfunctional emotionally because you were so overwhelmed and overwrought. Instead, let's take that breath in. Right? And let's be present. So, for now, you know that I'm curious. Are you ready to play?
Welcome to Triggered. Can we play with that? You know that moment when your emotions ramp up in an instant, leaving you feeling helpless, frozen, or out of control? In that moment, you've been emotionally hijacked, the very definition of triggered. And I want to ask you, can we play with that? I'm Nina L. Garcia, drama therapist and empowerment coach of Houston Creative Arts Therapy. Join me as we discover ways to empower you and the people who mean the most to you to transform hard conversations into teachable moments. Triggered. Real playful. Real respectful. Real empowered.
Let's take a breath. Okay, so we are exploring a sea of red flags. I'm going to start actually with multiple moments that you all have shared with me. Okay, so when we think about red flags, yes, for those of you who are like, Nina, what is a red flag? Let me tell you. Red flags are the things that in relationship, right? So we're going to think about it that way, in relationship to someone else, in this case for this episode, that pop up, and it should be something that says, whoa, this is a deal breaker for me. That is what your red flags are. They're deal breakers. And there's a caveat here. If it is a deal breaker, that does not mean necessarily that you have to immediately part ways with that person. It means it needs immediate attention. Okay. That is your red flag. I want you to imagine that. Red flags, yes, are the moments that occur in which you know this is a deal breaker and needs immediate attention. Okay. So that's your red flag. Then we move into the next piece that I want you to be thinking about. And we will, of course, explore this more later. But yellow flags. Yellow flags are the moments that happen that I want you to say, this stands out. This isn't typical. What is happening here? Okay. Your yellow flags suggest you should notice something. It doesn't necessarily mean that it is something that you should be concerned about or could be a deal breaker. And it doesn't necessarily mean that, oh, this is just something different. And this is just how they are. Okay, we hear that a lot. Yellow flags suggest you should notice something and then judge accordingly. Okay. So you've got red flags, you've got yellow flags, right? Red flags, crisis, immediate attention. Yellow flags suggest we should look at this, yes? Then you've got your green zone, friends. If you are in the green zone with yourself, with somebody else, right? But if you're in the green zone with your relationship, whether that's romantic, intimate, familial, friendly, right? The boss, work, colleague connection, whatever the case is, strangers on the street, right? Whatever that relationship is. If you are in the green zone, you're feeling open, receptive, at the very least content, right? If not joyful or something to that effect, right? Green zone is like, I can breathe here. Things are going smoothly, or at least they're moving along, right? Even if it is slow going, right? You still could be in the green zone there. So those are the three sort of areas that I want you to imagine as I begin to share these moments with you. Are you ready? I'm so ready. Okay. First moment on the docket is Nina. I went on a date with them and it was interesting, but like they talked all about themselves. Okay. Pause. Yellow flag. They talked all about themselves. Yellow flag. We notice it. We think, oh, that's atypical. What could that mean? Do they not know how to fit me in? Right? Or is it really that they just had a lot to say? Were they anxious? There could be lots of reasons why somebody would talk all about themselves, right? Yellow flag. Here's a different situation. Nina, they talked all about themselves. And even when I interrupted twice to say, hey, I notice you're talking a lot about me. Let me get a word in edgewise here. They still kept talking about themselves. In fact, what they said was, yeah, I know, right? And then they kept going. Now, far be it from me to judge your moment, but that could be a potential red flag. If you have already noticed yellow flag, suggests you should look at it, and then you made an intervention, especially not once, but twice, and you received the same response of neglecting you and avoiding you and not being able to give you space, that could be a red flag. Why is that a red flag? Well, you tell me, friend. Is it okay with you to not be heard, not be listened to, and not be attended to? For most people, that is a deal breaker. Now, when you're on your first date, it doesn't feel that way. You think, oh, it's just our first date, I want to give it more time. Okay, I'll say okay. How many red flags do you need that you were going to commit to before you say, oh, wait, I'm still not okay with you not giving me space and capacity to talk? How many dates will you go on? 2, 3, 5, 7, 3 years? I mean, honestly, right? I want us to play with this because it is spooky month, right? And I want us to transform hard conversations into teachable moments. But many of us will just skip over that with the idea of, well, it's just our first time. A red flag is a red flag. If we call out a red flag and that person simply doesn't have the capacity to meet us where we're at, move on is my offering on the table, or you can just readjust or whatever you need. But please, please don't push that red flag under the carpet. Don't hide that red flag in the closet. Don't put that red flag in the attic. Do you see where I'm going with this? Acknowledge it if it's there. If it's a yellow flag, how many times do you want to deal with a yellow flag until you say, wow, I really don't think that this is working because we have a pattern of yellow, yellow, yellow. And I've tried to do this and I've tried to do that, and we still come back to yellow. This likely means if there's a lot of yellows, that there's a pattern here that they simply haven't broken. And maybe it's not a deal breaker for you, but are you willing to continue to have those yellow flags? Because if they don't adjust that pattern with you, it's just predictable. Those yellow flags will continue, right? After a point. Now, of course, if you get 1 or 2 yellow flags and then it disappears, that's not quite a pattern just yet, right? Those were like instances, moments, right? So let me go into the next moment. This one is actually very frequent in the apps. Many of you mentioned this one. So here we go. Nina, I message them and then they don't message back. And then I wait, and then I message them again, and then they do message me back. And I think, okay, great, great. This is going, maybe they just need a lot of attention, right? Maybe they just need me to follow up. Maybe that's the kind of relationship that this will be where, I'm always the one stepping forward. And then I say, pause. And I want you to ask yourself, does that feel green zone to you? Does that feel like 100%? That's what I want to do. I want to move through this world, and I want to consistently be the one who initiates things in this relationship, because if that's the relationship you want, fantastic. Sounds like you're in the green zone. Let's say you're like, actually, Nina, you know what? I don't know if I want my relationship to constantly be me, the one initiating things. That might be a yellow flag for me because I'm not sure. So I wonder if I can talk with this person about, hey, I noticed that you're not initiating contact with me. Are you not interested in me? Is there, something else that maybe we could talk about that's holding you back? Or are you looking for somebody who really initiates convo with you? Okay. That would be your yellow flag. You noticed it. You're not sure if it's what you want. And guess what, empowered badass that you are, you attempted to make a shift. Okay. That's what that yellow is. It says suggesting you make a shift or take a look at this. Yes. So then I move on and I say, okay, is this a red flag for you, right? That they constantly are not being the one to respond on time, or they don't initiate contact, which could be for so many reasons, right? But if you're like, absolutely not, Nina, I know that if I'm speaking with someone, I expect that we are both going back and forth, that's actually the pattern of communication and the lifestyle that I expect in a healthy relationship with me. I know that I'm in my best green zone space when a partner is constantly moving back and forth with me. Fantastic. Then what do we know with this person who's not gotten back to you on time and not followed up with you? Red flag. It's a deal breaker for you. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with them. It just means between the two of you that this is a deal breaker for you. So you can cut ties, move on, let them know, whatever the case is. But you don't have to continue to invest your time in trying to fix a red flag or trying to make a red flag a yellow flag, especially at this early stage. There are so many fish in the sea, my friend, right? So again, that's a green zone, that's a yellow flag, it's a red flag. We talked about that. Are you ready for the next example? Take a breath in. let's say you've moved beyond the dating apps and the messaging back and forth, and the communication is just where you want it. And you've moved beyond the first dates and, the talking back and forth, and the date suggestions have been solid. And right. And you're like, it was a great first date, right? Let's say you've been dating, right? And now we're just talking like a handful of dates here. You've decided that this person does not have any red flags. And does not have any consistent yellow flags that cannot be addressed, right? Why? Why do you want to make sure that you don't have this by the second or third date, y'all? Y'all? Honestly, I would say by the end of the first date, right? Some people, it's just not meant to be. But your second or third date, really closing in on, am I in the green zone with this person? Because if not, do I want to do the work to change that red or yellow flag? You do not need to do the work. Now, far be it from me to tell you that you want to or whether you shouldn't, right? 100%, this is your decision. All I want to offer you in this episode is the ability to explore, am I green zone, yellow flag, and a red flag in here? Okay. So again, we get back to it. You've gone on a few dates with this person. You've decided 2, 3, right? We're going to say 5 or less dates. Okay. If you get to that point, I imagine it's probably going well. But let's say you're offering date suggestions, and at some point, your date is offering things that don't really gel with you. They don't really light you up. They don't really feel very green zone to you. Now, you can tell it's very green zone to your partner, right? This potential partner offering here, but it's not very green zone to you. Or vice versa. You keep offering things and they really light you up, but you notice that your partner's like, oh, yeah, if you want to do that, sure, I could do that with you. Yeah, and they're sort of like acquiescing to what you would like. Is this making sense, right? It's like both of you aren't quite lit up by the idea of what you would like to do to experience one another at such an early stage. Do you imagine that that will get easier over time? Now, don't get me wrong, with work, anything can be easy over time, right? If we get the tools to really make something work, sure. If we are willing to shift and that other person is willing to shift, sure, we can make something work. But at such an early stage, all I am inviting you to do again is recognize. Well, certainly already we've said this is not green zone, right? If one of us is not as enthused by these ideas, maybe we're just not as excited at being with this person or with these ideas, and a shift would have to occur. So we're at least already yellow flagging, right? Suggesting that we look at this and say, they're not entirely enthused. I'm not entirely enthused. And so let's suggest a shift. Yes, yellow flags, suggest a shift. Or if you're like, wow, they keep asking if I want to go, I don't know, bowling or to play D&D or to play chess or karaokeing, or they want to go dancing, and none of those things are your jam, I am willing to bet that you two have very different individual cultures and your lifestyle preferences might be different, right? Now, again, you can still have passion, you can still be excited by this person, but start to notice as soon as possible and acknowledge, is this a yellow flag? If I have enough yellow flags, how many yellow flags am I willing to deal with before I say, maybe this isn't a good fit? And how many red flag deal breakers are you going to need before you tell yourself, oh my goodness, glaciers, I don't know if this relationship is right for me? Okay. Red flags, deal breakers. Yellow flags, suggestions for shifts. Green zone, it's all gravy. Okay. So, here are just some very basic examples. I will offer you one more since it is spooky season. It's also Domestic Violence Awareness Month, right? Now, we're not going to get too deep into the nitty gritty details, but very seriously here, let's say you've been in a relationship for a few weeks, a few months, maybe even a few years. I want you to ask yourself, wherever you are in this relationship, again, whether it's a romantic partner, a friend, a relationship with a boss, right? A professional relationship, just so we're clear, right? With your boss or with a colleague, right? Or even your relationship with your neighbors. Are you in the green zone? Seriously, choose a relationship right now. Who's the first person that comes to your mind, right? Are you in the green zone with them in general? If not, what are the yellow flags popping up in this relationship? And if you were to make a list, how many yellow flags fit a similar pattern. Okay. I'm about to give you a tool in a second. After I give you all these examples, I'm going to tell you to pull out that journal. So get ready, y'all. Okay. How many yellow flags, again, if you were to make a list, thematically pop up, and it's actually the same thing showing up in different ways? Okay. Suggestion for a shift if that's the case. And if you have red flags, of emotional abuse, they put me down. My partner makes me feel bad about the things I've done. My partner shames me for how I exist in the world. My partner hits me, slaps me, or throws things at me. My partner belittles me. My partner doesn't want me to go out and spend time with friends. My partner isolates me. My partner beats me. Okay. My partner, I could go on and on. Red flag, red flag, red flag. A deal breaker is a deal breaker. Break off the relationship if that is safe for you. Consider, how do we get you to your safest place and back to your green zone? You do not deserve to be stuck in the red flag zone. And here's what I'm actually going to tell you before I give you this official tool for the red and the yellow and the green. If it wasn't obvious already, you can just take this metaphor, but I will also give you a written exercise for those of you who love to explore things, right? You can explore this over the upcoming week. But here is why this is so, so important and so critical in our very human relationships. People are human. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to make choices. We're going to make choices that are not good for ourselves. We're going to make choices that are not good for other people. If someone is victimizing you, if someone is hurting you emotionally, physically, sexually, psychologically, or spiritually, I could go on and on. If someone is harming you, you can remove yourself from the equation so that you are no longer harmed, and you also take away the opportunity for that person to practice harming. Again, removing yourself from the equation not only allows you to minimize harm to yourself, it takes away the power that that person had to actually harm someone else. If they don't get to practice harming someone, it gives them the opportunity to potentially take a step back and look at where they're at. If you stay in that power dynamic of them continuing to hurt you, it suggests or may suggest to them that they have the right to do that, which is not the case, but they'll continue to get the opportunity to do that. Remove the opportunity, you beautiful soul. Remove it. Okay. I told you I'd give you that writing exercise. We're coming up to the end of the episode. You know I'm curious. What have you been playing with? Take your journals out or grab that good friend, because here we go. I've taken you through green zone, yellow flags, and red flags. I want you to write that down. Green zone, what does it look like to you? What does it feel like in your body? What feelings and emotions do you associate with it? What thoughts go with the green zone? Okay, let me break that down for you. Once you've written down green zone, okay, you are then writing down thoughts, feelings, and behaviors associated with that green zone. If you're more an image-driven person, get out your pens and papers and colored pencils and markers, friends. What does your green zone look like? Right? What does it smell like? What does it taste like? What does it sound like? Okay. Again, whatever floats your boat, explore what is a green zone space for you. It's so unique and it's so worth knowing. Okay. That's your green zone. That's step one. Okay. Second thing, what is your yellow flag zone? Okay. What does it look like? What are the things you know are yellow flags for you? Okay. What are the things you know because you've experienced that? And if you want, again, thoughts, feelings, behaviors. What are some of the thoughts that go in the yellow flags? What are some of the feelings and emotions that show up there, right? What are some of the behaviors that show up in the yellow flag zone, right? Oh, I'm apprehensive. I find that, sometimes I get uncomfortable around them. Sometimes I'm like, oh, that's concerning, or, oh, that's curious. Yellow flags, all of that is yellow flags, right? Take note of it. And again, if you're more of an imagery driven person, what's your yellow flag zone look like? Okay. What's it sound like? What's it feel like? What's it taste like? You get where I'm going with this, right? I want you to know that inside and out, so that as soon as a yellow flag pops up, right, and write this down, it suggests a shift. It suggests that something needs to be said or done differently than how it has been going. Okay, that's your yellow flag zone. We want to shift patterns. Red flags, write this down. Red flags is your immediate attention. It means either the relationship needs to end, you need to part ways, therapy may need to happen, treatment may need to happen. There's so many things that could happen when you have a red flag in a relationship with someone, but take note of it. Write down what are the thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that go with that red zone. Yeah. Okay, some of that I've already covered, right? This is crisis, this is immediate attention, right? This is red flag, your sea of red flags. And of course, if you're imagery driven, what does that look like? What does it sound like? Right? What does it taste like? Oh, like I can't even say that right now. My face is just like, oh, the red flags. My body is tense, right? And I'm like, oh, the red flags. I'm like, beedo, beedo. I feel like one of those minions, like with an alarm in my mouth. So that is your tool for the upcoming week. Once you're clear on what your green zone, your yellow flag zone, and your red flag zone look like, I want to invite you to ask yourself if you want that bonus zone here. That bonus zone question is, what relationships now need attending? What relationships are you noticing a lot of yellow flags in? And it just suggests a shift. You get to decide that, right? You know this, you get to decide it. And in what relationships are you seeing red flags? Does that relationship mean we need immediate attention, like a boundary to be set, a barrier to be set up, distancing, a breakup, treatment, right? Rehab, whatever the case may be? What relationships are needing attending in your life? Okay. I really want you to transform these hard, sticky, uncomfortable conversations into teachable moments. We can learn from these things. So let's not put them under the carpet anymore. Let's not hide them in the closet, and let's not stash them in the attic. Okay. Okay. So that is what I planned for you all today. Thank you so much for listening in and exploring your triggers as a human being. If this has been helpful for you, okay, follow me at Drama Therapist Nina on Instagram or YouTube and share the episode. That's the most beneficial thing you can do when I say, hey, be an empowered badass, have these conversations, have these dialogues, and share these tools. How many people have like, oh my gosh, I look back and I think there was so many red flags, Nina. Now imagine if you could see that red flag from a mile away on date one. If not date one, maybe date 2 or 3. Okay. Now, I'm not saying this is a magic fix. It's not going to save you from all of the people out there who may want to manipulate or harm you. Okay. What I am saying is that, oh my goodness, y'all, it is a fantastic tool to add to your self-care toolbox or bag or whatever is going on for you. Okay. Okay. So again, share the episode. That is the number one thing you can do that will help spread the word on how to transform hard conversations into teachable moments. Thank you for listening to Triggered. Can we play with that? Stay curious.